After Sophie Cunningham publicly defended rookie star Caitlin Clark, she exposed Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White. A heated press conference has turned into a league-wide dispute, with players, coaches, and supporters all offering their opinions. This is not your typical sports story, so fasten your seatbelt. The WNBA is experiencing a full-fledged culture war. There are significant differences between the new generation of players like Caitlin Clark and the old-school veterans, as well as tensions in the locker room and veiled jabs at the league administration. The woman who has never backpedaled in a battle, Sophie Cunningham, was at the middle of it all and simply blew the roof off. The most talked about player in women's sports this year, if not all sports, is Caitlin Clark, the first overall pick in the 2024 WNBA draft. Record-breaking product sales, sold-out venues, and widespread media coverage accompanied her move from Iowa to the Indiana Fever. However, after all the publicity returned, Clark was the object of abuse, condemnation from the media, and even animosity from some of her own league teammates. The rookie star has been under constant criticism for everything from violent outbursts on the court to passive-aggressive remarks made during interviews. In the midst of all of this turmoil, Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White finally spoke up during a news conference after the game to defend Clark, stating, "She's handling a level of pressure no other rookie has ever faced, and she's doing it with class. Instead of tearing her down, we must begin to safeguard her." The league was alarmed by White's defense of Clark, and for a split second, it appeared as though Clark might finally get some relief. Then Sophie Cunningham arrived. If you know anything about Sophie Cunningham, you are aware that she doesn't hesitate to express her opinions. She's all fire, no filter, whether she's clapping back on social media or leaping on the floor for a loose ball. One of Clark's most egregious violators, Cunningham was just traded to the Indiana Fever and has since become a vocal leader. However, she startled both fans and industry insiders this week when she called out her own coach, yes, Stephanie White, for what she called Caitlin Clark's performative support. Standing up for Caitlin Clark in front of the cameras is one thing. Protecting her when the doors are closed is another matter. Even though we communicate a lot, there is still a lack of accountability in this locker room. Hold on, what? Cunningham just implied that what's going on behind the scenes doesn't align with Stephanie White's public defense of Clark. That is more than just a bold assertion. That directly challenges the culture and leadership of the team. According to insiders, there's been constant conflict in the Fever locker room, particularly between players who back Clark and those who believe she is a pampered celebrity receiving preferential treatment. Cunningham's remarks expose a more profound rift, where Clark's standing and safety have become divisive topics among her own squad. Cunningham went on to explain, stating, "I can see how diligent she is. She receives a lot of vitriol, and the quiet surrounding it says a lot. Our team's identity should include standing up for her, not just a press quote." Not all of those remarks were directed at Stephanie White. They were directed at anyone in the organization who fails to intervene when Clark is isolated, targeted, or elbowed. And keep in mind that Cunningham is more than just an outsider. She is a respected, tough veteran who has played for the Phoenix Mercury and understands what it's like to be both reviled and admired. Naturally, Stephanie White was compelled to reply to the media frenzy, and she made an effort to maintain a professional demeanor. "We have passionate players," White stated in a follow-up interview. "That is the strength of our team. Although I respect Sophie's viewpoint and opinion, it is my responsibility as a coach to safeguard all players, including Caitlin, and foster a cohesive team culture." However, not everyone was pleased with that response. Some fans accused White of skirting a serious problem, while others referred to it as business jargon. When opposition players attack Clark, why isn't she protected more forcefully? With her large sponsorship deals, huge viewership, and younger, predominantly white fan base that are watching women's basketball for the first time, Caitlin Clark epitomizes a new age. However, other veterans are angry by her ascension because they believe the league has been ignoring them for years. These days, Sophie Cunningham has established herself as a link between the two realms. A veteran who values hard work but also recognizes Clark as a once-in-a-generation athlete who deserves encouragement rather than criticism. In her own words, We will lose fans if we don't support her. We will lose our momentum. Most significantly, our league's integrity will be compromised. It's a strong message that gets right to the core of the WNBA's identity dilemma. Throughout this entire situation, what is Caitlin Clark saying? Nothing at all. And for that reason, this is much more intriguing. Clark has maintained his composure, silence, and concentration, never criticizing her own squad, never pointing the finger at referees, and never calling out opponents. However, insiders claim that behind the scenes, Clark and Sophie Cunningham have developed a close bond. Before games, the two frequently work out together, and they have been spotted discussing tactics on the bench. Even more recently, Cunningham shared an Instagram story with a comment, "Protect what matters." Clark is letting her inner group and her game speak for her, without uttering a word. Sophie is telling the truth. The league is currently experiencing a great deal of jealousy, which is influencing how teams regard Clark. It took courage for her to say that. Therefore, Cunningham's audacious decision has the support of supporters, insiders, and even some players. What comes next? The season is at a pivotal point for the Indiana Fever. Their success will be determined by their leadership, chemistry, and trust. Additionally, the locker room dynamic may be significantly impacted by this separation between Cunningham and White, even if they downplay it in public. This might be a turning point, or things could get out of hand if Sophie Cunningham's remarks inspire other players to speak up, or if they make White rethink her approach to leadership. Remember that Clark has a brief rookie deal. Her future may be impacted by this type of internal struggle if she doesn't feel respected or protected in Indiana. Ultimately, there is more to this narrative than basketball. It's about taking responsibility, speaking up when it's unpopular, and defending those who are advancing the league. Sophie Cunningham did more than just defend Caitlin Clark. She criticized a system that has been reluctant to defend its stars, slow to adapt, and all too frequently split along ego and jealousy lines. Cunningham is pressuring Stephanie White and everyone else to improve, to live up to the ideals they preach, even if she is a wonderful coach. Because the WNBA cannot allow its brightest star to be diminished by inaction and silence if it hopes to expand. What do you think, then? Was Sophie Cunningham acting inappropriately? Or did she say what was necessary? Does Stephanie White go far enough in keeping Caitlin Clark safe? Or does she simply say the appropriate things to the cameras? What does this signify for the Indiana Fevers and the WNBA's overall future? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. To ensure you don't miss any updates from the Fast Breakdown, remember to hit the notification bell, like, and subscribe.